Yo, 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 welcome to the Brothers in Influence podcast, where we stand to encourage, inspire, and add value in the areas of life, leadership, community. We consist of five brothers discussing relevant topics with candor and care. Thank you for tuning in. Let's go. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know what, man? We've been rocking with our intro for a while. I just want to give a shout out to one of our brothers in arms, King Boaz, Yes Marketing, who created our intro. Man, I'm looking at. I love it for one, and it's amazing. I think he did a great job. I'm also kind of jealous because a lot of the brothers in our intro have hair, and I ain't had hair in a minute. so so you know what I'm saying, but it's a beautiful thing. Listen, my name is Ian Williams, your purpose coach. You can find me on Twitter at Son of the King 02 and on Instagram at Ian Coaches, along with my family at Team Reconcile. And I happen to be shoulder to shoulder with one of my brothers, one of the five, today on this Monday after the holiday. I would introduce him, but I won't get too hyped.
Shawte Price here, your leadership and your financial coach, on location at the store.
There it is. Yep. On location at the store. Yeah. If you've been rocking with us, Shawte and his brother, they got a store out in Grand Rapids, right?
Yeah.
Selling amazing natural products. I actually got my shipment last week, and I loved it. Not only did I love it, but my wife loved it too. She's like, "All these smells, come on now."
Hey, that's what really count, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, they was pleasant. They was good, man. And as long as she likes it, that's all that matters. I mean, as long as they keep me and as he got me some organic deodorant, it kept me dry, so I'm happy.
Yeah, that's what count. It does it work, and that's what with any product, whether it's us with our all the brothers we all coach or do trainings.
Mm-hmm.
It's about, does it work at the end of the day? Yeah. You can be the best speaker in the world, but if the product you're speaking about ain't working, you in for it.
Right. Yeah, I mean we are not snake oil salesmen. Right? We ain't selling sugar pills and placebos. We are a product of the product. I think that's what Chris, one of our mentors, Chris Robinson, says. We're a product of the product.
Product of the product. That's right.
We are on our personal growth journeys. We're developing as individuals, as human beings, as leaders, as men, as husbands, as fathers. Something that we committed to. I know, I look at my 5-year-old son now, and I'm like, man, he teaches me stuff now, and when I'm old, I don't want to be one of those stubborn old folks that don't, it's so set in my ways I can't hear nothing. I'm like, I'm looking forward to when he can teach me about the new tech, because I'm a tech geek. You know what I'm saying? But I might be like, son, why don't you tell me about this newfangled thing over here?
Mm-hmm. he gonna drop it on you. About time that come around, stuff might be flying around and all that type of stuff.
Right. When you gonna let me ride up in the new Lincoln S class, Air Max or something? I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. So Shawte, bro, we just coming off 4th of July weekend. For a lot of businesses and the nation at large, this is the business day holiday, right? A lot of places have allowed their employees to stay home today and just enjoy a little extra time with their family. So what's going on with you, man? How you doing?
I'm good. I had a pretty good week. Ain't nothing too excited to spread the news about, but great week. Me and my daughter, we just came up here to Grand Rapids, visit some family for the next couple of days. This is my weekend. Mm-hmm. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And she was attempting to get me to play her games with her all the way down here on this 2-hour drive, as she's in the back seat and I'm driving. Do this, do that.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
it don't work like that, baby. We gonna both be in trouble. I try to play a game.
right, right.
So, but yeah, been good. Just like you said, we still constantly working on that life, that leadership, and that community uh, around family and friends and the business.
Yeah, yeah, man. We just out here growing. Another one of our sisters, man, I can't think of her name right now. I'm upset. But she always
Uh-oh.
say, she always say, "Here we grow again." That's just
Here
what,
we grow again. Oh yeah.
yeah. So this doesn't mean we're not perfect. We don't have it all figured out, but we're committed to the growth process, right?
Yeah.
We don't always make the right decisions. We haven't always made the right decisions. We can tell you, we can give you specific examples of where we really messed up some stuff,
I really messed up some stuff.
right?
For real, for real.
Yeah, man. So we just, our goal is to just get on here and be real and honest, right? Just like the conversations that we have with each other. My week was really good. Got a lot done. Had a great weekend. It was like the first time my son had a sleepover. Like it's not little cousin. His actually cousin is 2 years older than him. A lot of people think that they're like twins. It's funny, man. I mentioned how I was adopted, and so I connected with my paternal family, meaning my father's family, a couple years ago now. And one of my uncles has a grandson that could pass for my son's brother.
Wow.
They look so much alike, and it's crazy. Um, but yeah, so he hung out with us this weekend, and it was my son's first time having a sleepover. Man, it was a lot of lessons. We're like, are they ready for this yet? There was a couple of them, and then it was like, are we ready for this yet? Because I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Because he being an only child, uh, and his little personality traits, he probably gets it honest from both my mother and I, his mother and I. But he's got some really introverted tendencies for a child.
Yeah.
At some point, like he went to his room where his cousin was they was playing again. He just walked off, and we was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Man, I just needed some peace and quiet." What?
Wow. Yeah, boy.
So it's gonna be interesting to as he continues to grow and develop and gain his own circle of people who have influence, with peers and all that stuff, to see where this goes. But right now, he's looking really introverted.
Yeah.
It's not like he don't enjoy people. He loves people. He was ecstatic to have him over. But man, it was just nonstop. They was running around and playing, and at some point he just walked off. He was like, "Where'd you go?" He's like, "Man."
Yeah, the interesting thing is about when you talk about introverts or either or introvert extroverts is for the most part, some are that period, either or, but a lot of people are positional, or situational.
Yeah.
And that's something I had to learn about me. I was more situational because when there's something that I know about or something that I have passion about, I'll jump all over it. I'll be in there, so.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you, man. Not that you needed my agreement, but I understand it from my experience as well.
Yeah.
So people could look at the podcast and be like, "Oh, he's probably an extrovert." I know that people have looked at me often when I've been in front of crowds speaking or training, and they'll be like, "Oh, you're extroverted," or "You're extroverted and introvert." I was like, "Nah, man. When my battery's on low, I'm gonna be somewhere by myself."
Exactly.
But
no doubt.
But I know how I've learned how to navigate these. I'm learning how to navigate these spaces, and just a lot of times from trial and error, being thrown into the fire, and so it's just a natural extension of who I am. And the thing about it is like, as my wife and I do business together and we're co-facilitating, I can see her battery start to drain. I'm like, man, I've been doing this for some years, and it's like I've built up much more stamina than I realized.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like a muscle, man. You gotta it's not that you aren't capable. It's just, it's like something it takes a little bit more effort than it would someone who's naturally extroverted and doesn't mind the spotlight. And get a little bit more comfortable with it as the more you do it. So
Yeah, that's like the quote you said, "Here we go again." That's what it's about.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. And, another one we like to throw out there: you have to know yourself to grow yourself.
Oh yes, the law of awareness.
A lot of us felt like I would never be up there like that. I would never, be able to, as much as you want to. A lot of us introverts wish we could be on the stage and move the crowd and really connect with people that way. But because of how we're I won't say how we're taught. I guess we're taught this kind of indirectly. Is that it's just not the space for you. You're too quiet. But really, we all have something to say. And so, for all my introverts out there, this is just an area of opportunity for you to grow and learn what you're capable of.
Yes, sir.
So, that being said, it's been great. And this last week, I actually, one thing I wanted to just mention, man, it was a good week. And I got stuff done, and we survived the weekend with my with cousin over, but last week at some point I just felt completely overwhelmed by everything going on in my life.
Mm-hmm.
All of the demands. Another thing that can commonly come along with being an introvert is just low energy in general. Just being a lower energy person. Some people have just energy and they just go and. Like, especially it seems like it might be easier for those that can feed off a crowd, because as long as you can put yourself around people, your battery stays full. Mm-hmm. It's the times when they can't put themselves around people that they're in trouble. But for me, when I'm constantly giving out, there's very few things that don't drain my battery. I'm glad to say that the Brothers in Influence podcast is not one of those things. Like, it does not drain me. This does not feel like work. I'm like, I'll be talking about, like, I got these priorities. I'll talk to my wife. I got this priority. This one is, I think they're important in this order. What do you think? To get her take, because she might, because I need that insight to see if I'm missing something. And she'll be like, you got that, and you got that podcast. I'm like, the podcast ain't got nothing to do with this conversation. I said the podcast is what helps me do all the more things.
Yeah, I think the other thing, a part of that too, is, first of all, anybody can get overwhelmed, and I think sometimes we forget that anybody can get overwhelmed, and one of the key components of that is what you just said. You're engaging with your wife. I got this going. What do you think? And she's there to be, I ain't gonna jump back into the dentist, but hey, she knows, a woman knows how to pull the right teeth, right? And man, since I said that, but so before, I think this was right before me and my wife went on our honeymoon, went on a cruise. So at the time, I was having a toothache. So I'm like, man. So I found a place that they were doing like free look at your teeth stuff. So I went. It's like a week before. Okay. Went to the place. They pulled the tooth. Everything. I'm thinking everything good. Gone. We on the cruise, and then on the way back, my mouth just starts hurting. Even though they gave me the pills, I think they gave me some pills or something. Mouth started hurting. So anyway, make a long story short, end up going to the place I went to was where the dentist that I now go to, he had created this tool to be able to pull out teeth. So people know him by that because he created this special tool. So when I called the people back, they sent me to his office. And when I go over there, they take an x-ray. And what do you think was there? Part of the tooth, because it was a training. So it was a training thing for people. So the person that pulled the tooth out, they didn't pull the whole tooth out. So I'm saying, yeah. So, but I'm saying that to say, at the end of the day, who did I have to go to? I had to go back to the source. And a lot of times that's what we have to do with our wives and our significant others. When turmoil and things are manifest in our life, it just seems like everything crazy. And you just gave the prime example. That's what you often do. You go to your wife and say, hey, I got this going on. And she'll bring up something that has absolutely nothing to do with it. because those things are set in order at that point.
Right.
Because I'm pretty sure it was other things outside the Brothers Influence podcast,
Yeah.
but those things are set in order outside of what you're focusing on at the moment. But she's there to what? Give you some guidance and say, well, maybe, and I'm pretty sure sometimes she'll say, well, I know you want to do this, but maybe this isn't as important right now, because you'll get to that. And us as C's, we want everything to be perfect anyway. So that's how oftentimes how we get caught up in the situation, because we want everything to be perfect and we know we can do all this stuff, but sometimes it gets lost in the sauce.
Yeah, man, that's so true. That's so true. Yeah, man, I've definitely got a lot going on. So it took me a minute, because I kind of, when she threw the podcast out there, I'm like, listen, you're not gonna take the podcast away. We not talking. That's not what we're here to talk about.
Yeah.
But it's like I got business, I've got work. I'm working with an organization, and then I've also got school, and just trying to find a balance for those three things. Like, all three of those things pull on my energy reserves.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, how do I find some sort of balance? And balance is one of those things that's kind of always elusive. So the point of the conversation was figuring out how I can align my priorities according to what's most important, right?
Yeah.
And so whatever is number one out of those three things, that's where I need to be expending most of my energy. And whether or not I need to let one of those things go or not, or just come up with a strategy to help me address and meet my obligations without drowning myself out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just had to remind her, like, leave the podcast over there, because the podcast is good. So that being said, y'all know, if y'all been rocking with us, man, it's only two of us on here today. We mentioned a couple of brothers, but we've got one of our brothers decided to show up. The leadership locksmith.
Hey, what's up, fellas? How you feeling? What's going on?
Man, where you at? I know where you at, but people need to know where you at. What you doing?
We in Cocoa Beach. We in the family vacation.
Cocoa Beach, man.
Yes, sir.
It looks good. It looks good out there, bro.
Yeah, it is good out here. We just came back from getting something to eat, man. I jumped on. I was like, oh man, I'm missing the call. I was gonna get on, brother.
Man, I told you, see, ladies and gentlemen, we had a conversation. He gonna tell me he's down on vacation, and he mentioned it to his wife. He might jump on, and she gave him the look.
The look. Y'all know the look, right?
I said, bro, based on the look alone, and just enjoy your vacation.
Yeah, but she still gave me the pad, so I was like, shoot.
So tell us, how's it going down there in Cocoa Beach?
Man, it's going great. It really is. It's nice, it's warm. We got down yesterday, but today was first out day on the beach, and then it's a pool. And matter of fact, can I show y'all? Is the camera around? Nope, that's on the camera. Let's do it this way.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
That's the resort.
Oh, okay. You flexing on us and stuff, huh?
Boo.
Y'all here flexing on us, huh?
Hey.
But, baby girl want to say hi.
Hello. Life Leadership and Community, ladies and gentlemen. We got Leadership Locksmith on vacation, join his family.
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
Go ahead,
yeah, but when I jumped on, I heard y'all talk about podcast or what's going on?
So to recap, I was telling Shantae and telling the people how earlier this week I was overwhelmed by everything going on, with business, school, and working with another local organization.
Right.
And I told him in the course of the conversation that I was having, I ended up talking to my wife first, and we were talking through priorities and trying to how to align them with what's most important. Mm-hmm. And he was like, "Yeah, you got this, and that." And then you got that podcast. And I was like, whoa. Podcast has nothing to do with this. Don't touch the podcast. Podcast is helping me make it through.
Right.
Message and trying to figure out how to make the right business decisions. This is a life giver.
I got you. Got your feelings a little bit, huh?
I did.
I got you.
Why you got to bring up the podcast though? Why you got to bring up the podcast?
Right. I laid it all out there. Everything we supposed to talk about. We supposed to talk about this business deal, the office that we just leased. These school and all these papers I'm writing. When I'm supposed to get sleep. We ain't talking about the podcast.
Exactly.
We're putting priorities out there, right? We put priorities out there,
right?
That's what's up.
Yeah. So man. So we just kind of catching up. We were sharing stories before we jump right into our main discussion.
Stories.
Yeah, man.
Hey, I'm gonna tell y'all this. So again, it's kind of the first day we got in yesterday. Went to the beach today, and I got about 5 lessons. Being on the beach. Five lessons.
He out there picking locks again.
Yep. Man. But if it's just live in front of you, I can't help but grab it. Help but grab it. So here's the first one I got today, and then I'll be done with it. Right? So me and my girls were in the water. So they're catching waves, right? So wave comes, they jump in it and all that. And I'm sitting here and I'm watching them. And it was interesting. The wave would come, then it get real calm. There came another wave. I was like, ooh. I was like, this is a life lesson. I gotta teach this. I was like, baby girl, what's the lesson? She was like, lesson. I was like, what's the lesson? She's like, I was like, this is life. Right? 1 minute everything's calm. Next thing you know, a wave comes. Right? She's like, oh, yeah. That's life. A wave comes and then it's calm. A wave comes. And they were jumping through the waves, right? But that's because they could see it. What happens if your back is to it? And you don't see it.
All right, okay.
Knock you over.
You off, right? Yeah, but hey, hold on. The girl was on it though. She's like, but I'm strong. I just stand in it, right? I use my strength. Like, oh, you're right. So there's 2 lessons in that, right? If you're not strong enough, it's gonna knock you over. But at the same time, when you see it, you gotta know how to approach it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
That's right.
That's just fun. But again,
go ahead.
Waves come and they go. But again, there's also calmness in there. So the calmness is all about preparation. Because you got to prepare for the next wave. The wave is always going to come.
Yeah.
Always going to come.
That's right. Yeah. So it reminds me of something I was kind of meditating on earlier. 2 things. I saw a video, like a TikTok video of a young lady. She was kind of sharing a lesson she learned from the Chinese finger traps. Y'all seen Chinese finger traps? Like paper, you put your finger in.
Yeah, with both fingers.
Oh, yeah.
Pull, you get stuck.
Yeah.
He was saying how when you pull, it's like how we pull under our own strength, trying to get free, but we found ourselves caught up and unable to get free when we pull on them. But when we press into the finger trap, that's when we get released. And so she was saying how you needed to press into God, press into your source. And and so part 2 of that is I was listening to one of our mentors, our guy Eric Thomas, and he was talking about how when you're feeling under pressure and you want to withdraw or you want to turn away or you want to avoid, do the opposite. Press in.
Yeah, lean into the situation.
Lean into it. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, if you want your breakthrough.
Yeah.
So once we recognize that there's an ebb and flow, that there's some calm and then there's a wave and there's some calm and there's a wave, and we may or may not see it coming, but once we recognize that we're in it, go on and lean into it. Instead of trying to rely on our own strength, it's when we rely on our own strength that the wave can sweep us off our feet. Come on now.
You get tossed and turned in the waves, right? But again,
Yep,
even when you jump into the wave, well, you gotta lean into it.
I need an organ
You
key.
gotta
I'm gonna have to
lean.
get an organ key sound for it.
I got you.
Yeah.
No, that's
Yes,
good
sir.
stuff,
Yes, sir.
man.
So
That's good stuff.
that's so good, man. Because you know what? Today we're talking about character and compromise. We're talking about character and compromise. And I think, it goes. I think that goes well with everything we've really talked about, right? How do you respond under pressure, and what do you do when you do recognize the wave? When you see, how do you carry yourself in the calm, right? Do you recognize it and appreciate it, and then when the wave comes, are you in a position where whatever you're made of can be tested, and is it set up to endure?
Right, because that's where the development happens. Like, that's where
Yeah.
the development is. So when we think about character and compromise, even to the effect of again the lesson that we were just talking about with the waves. Again, the waves the purpose of the waves is to develop character, right? Because it's going to
Mm,
knock you off your feet.
yeah.
It's going to catch you off guard. Even though when you see it, you're still going to learn from it because you learn from the first wave how to handle the next wave, and then the
Mm,
next wave that comes out because each wave is not the same. There
Mm.
was times where, it was a wave, no nothing, a wave, nothing, and then there was one time me and my youngest was out there, it was a wave, and then another wave right after that. It was interesting, right?
Yeah.
So it was two waves that came at one time,
mhm.
and that's life. You never know what wave is coming, but at the same time, that is when your character is going to be developed the most, right? So then if we think about the compromise, right? What's the compromise? You know, at this particular point, I could just get out the water,
Mm-hmm.
right? I could just move out the way, right, and not deal with it because I don't want to deal with it. I don't want that type of development. I don't want that type of challenge with my character, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Pressure,
good.
discomfort.
Man,
Yeah.
man, it made me think of this story, right? So, because when y'all was talking, I was thinking about how now a person of character, whatever it might be, we know or we understand that things happen. You're gonna have failures, or it's possible that you might have outbursts, like we said, pressure bust pipe stuff you ain't dealt with, stuff like that. Now, people looking on the inside from the outside looking in, they're quick to judge you for that incident. So we're
Mm,
talking about waves and stuff. You talk to some of the best swimmers, and they'll tell you the times when they found out they weren't as good as they thought they were. And it
Mm,
wasn't not that they weren't good, it was just a situation. So that brings me to the story. This pastor, he was telling me he was I think he was off the coast of South Africa doing some missionary work, but he's a good swimmer. So he's out on a boat and he told the guy, he's like, I'll swim in. So he began to swim towards the shore. And you guys have probably heard about how you got to swim at a diagonal way. You can't swim straight because the waves, stuff like that. So he's doing this thing. And when he gets to by the shore, he just can't get there. He just can't. He's struggling, so he'll stop for a minute, float a little bit, and he cannot
mm,
get. I'm talking. It's literally is right there, but he can't get there. And a guy comes walking down the street, and the guy just reached out his hand and helped him. So what he found out was that at that point, I wish I had a graph, but there's a drop off right there. Like literally, just the arm length. He was an arm length away from death. That's how close he was to death, because there's a literal drop off at that point. And because of how the water is, he just couldn't get there. It was literally, that's how far it was, but he could not get there without someone reaching out his hand to help him.
Wow.
And so, but most people would look at the situation and make excuses or say he should have did this, shouldn't did this. And some things in life are going to arise, like the waves. Those things are going to arrive that you haven't encountered. No matter how good you're at what you do or what you've done. And so it just, I ain't heard, that story was told to me, man, 10, 15 years ago. But when you guys was talking about it, I just thought about that because we're talking about character and compromise. Because some people, they might not have reached out. They would have been like, I can do it. And would they would have died right there. So
Wow. That's good, bro. That's real good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I might let that breathe for me.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm gonna let that
hey,
breathe.
I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there. I'm selfish and angry and thinking I know it all. I'm saying I've been there.
Yeah.
I drowned because I didn't want to reach my hand out. I didn't make it past that point at the time because I didn't want to reach my hand out. I thought I could do it on my own. And that's one of the reasons I do what I do now, because I really want people to grasp that reality that anything that's worth doing is worth doing with others, because you can't be successful without anyone else. You can give me any major company. I don't care what the company is. We can talk about Apple, any of those major companies, and let's look at where the starting point of the idea to where it is now, and whether it was 1 at the beginning, then there became 4, then they became 6, then they became 30. That's why they're successful today. That's just how it is.
That's good, brother. That's so good.
That's why I got you guys.
Right. That's why we're here, the Brothers Influence Podcast. That's
Yes,
exactly
sir.
why we exist, you know?
And that man, that's just a true testament of character, right? Because even like you said, been there. I mean, we all been in situations like that. I think we can all account for a situation where our character was being challenged. But one of the things that I like that you said, Shante, was the fact that, again, you know, understanding when there was a time to reach out your hand, right? That you had to reach out, you had to get help. And sometimes because of our character or lack thereof, to be all we real with it, we don't understand that we need to sometimes reach for that help because we feel that, again, if I do that, it's a sign of weakness, or I who am I to get help? Who do I have to ask, right?
Right.
That again but that's just a true testament of your character. That when you're able to reach out and find someone that can help you, then again, what you'll find is that you'll find that brother, right? But in our case, 5 of us, right? That are able to be there to help us in that character development, because it's a process of development, right? Process of development.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much involved there. By extension, like, a lot of people have a need for control, and they don't reach out just simply because they feel like they'd have to admit that they don't have control.
Or lose control.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're afraid that they would be giving up some of the control that they have by reaching out, and that's difficult, especially if you've been through something. If you've been through something, that's a part of your survival instinct. Finding ways to maintain control, and so it's it's good, man. Shante, you kind of floored me there, but we think about character and compromise. There's a couple of lessons, bro. Are you frozen? Because you kind of sideways right now. You seeing? Okay, there he is.
Oh yeah, I thought he did it on purpose.
I was like this.
Yeah, I thought he did it on purpose.
This what happens when you're on location.
There you go. Again, we're gonna plug the store, organics and wellness and all that good stuff out in Grand Rapids. What's the name of the store?
Needful Things, Health and Body Essentials.
Needful Things, Health and Body Essentials. He does ship. I can tell you, I got my organic deodorant and essential oils. My wife was very happy with how they smell, and I was happy because they kept me dry. So this is kind of like a pseudo sponsorship. We shouting out needful things. Yeah, a couple of lessons that I learned about character, over the years, and even more recently, like characters like the sum of some of your choices, right? So,
Mhm.
like Shiraz said, like whether you have character or the lack thereof, I can think that over the years in my life, my character has ebbed and flowed. I can't remember ever being sat down or talked to or taught or um, really. It was never really the importance of character was never really relayed to me directly, right? Of course, you don't do this, you don't do that, you don't steal, you shouldn't lie, but like, what is character and what is it really like? Growing up as a young person, I probably couldn't have defined it. And that's something that I now that I understand. I'm like, man, if I would have known this sooner, like if old head or OG or someone that really knew something would have set me down and really told me what character is, that's a tool from my tool belt I could have been using all this time. But it's the sum of your choices, right? And it ebbs and flows because we're not perfect. We're human beings, right? We don't always make the right choices, but we do. We are striving, right? We're not perfect, but we're moving towards what did we say, Sharad? We're kind of moving towards perfection.
Yeah, yeah. So it's moving. What do we say?
We done got some
No,
phrases. We
perfectly,
done
per, per,
perfectly in pursuit.
purpose, purposely in pursuit. That's right.
Yeah,
Purposely in pursuit.
purposefully in pursuit. Yeah. So we're
Oh, that's
purposefully
good. Got to
in
go
pursuit,
on,
right?
coach.
So what that sounds like another kind of phrase, intentional living, just the word intentional in general. We
Hmm.
mean we're trying to make the right choices, right? If we're conscious, we're striving to make the right choices, and we're trying to surround ourselves with the people, the sort of people who have similar values to us to help encourage us and hold us accountable. So it's a lot that goes into it, right? I know that there were times where I was striving to do it, but I didn't have the circle. I didn't have access to
Hmm.
the circle. I remember when I was single and all my friends had gotten married. They was with their wives and I was by myself. I didn't always have the
Hmm.
circle readily available to help hold me accountable. I mean, I call them, but they weren't always available. They had kids. They was doing
Hmm.
married things. And even
Hmm.
after I was married, we didn't always have, my wife and I haven't always had the circle. Because
Yeah.
seasons change and everything. So you have to be very purposeful about the connections that we're making. And that's another reason why I'm grateful for the Brothers and Influence podcast. Another thing I've learned about character is from our mentor, John Maxwell. One of the sessions I got to sit in him with, someone asked him, how has failure shaped your character?
Mm.
And it was like, okay, so maybe he'll tell a story about how he messed up sometime and all this and that. And what he
Yeah.
said was just really so profound. And I was like, and it really stuck with me. And I found it to be true that it's not how failure shapes your character. It's character is all about how you respond to failure. So it's not a matter
I knew
of
you was going
Yeah.
if you
there.
fail,
I knew you was going there.
it's not going because you're going to fail at some point. You're going to fall short, whatever that looks like,
Mhm.
big or
Hmm.
small. We all it's just a part of being human, and all of us, the way we're wired, and if you're familiar with this, we're all C's. That eats us alive. It eats, it eats us alive that we can't get it right every single time.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's the response. So how do you respond when you fail? And that's when the integrity and the values and all of those things really surface. It really begins to show who you are. And I can tell you, I have been tested. I've had some major failures, and I really John is like a master at connecting with people. Our mentor, John Maxwell, because he goes on to say, when people ask me about my failures, I start comparing notes. Like I make it a competition. I bet you I can outfail you. You know, we want to we want to really sit down and compare notes. Like you really not
Yeah.
that bad. I can tell you some stuff
Yeah.
that I've done, some
Yeah.
choices that I've made. But it's really that it's that connection, that community, the accountability, the intentionality, and real intentionality requires connection. And I think that that's something that we miss.
Yeah. I know that's why one of my favorite books is by John C. Maxwell is Failing Forward.
Hmm.
And because when we talk about character, I look at it as character is who you are when the dust is settled.
Mm.
So whatever situation that may come into your life. And like I said earlier, yeah, we're gonna make mistakes. We might, I don't care what character somebody got. You know, you make mistakes, or you might say something or do something that may seem contrary to your character.
Mm-hmm.
It's what you do after the dust settles, I believe.
Yeah.
Because everybody's gonna have those situations. If it's a person that's saying they don't have those situations or not, me personally, I'm gonna
Don't
be like,
trust
okay,
Don't trust.
you know, because
Don't trust.
yeah, because life, you know, life. I think somebody said when life deals you lemons, make lemonade,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like I get it because that's gonna happen, you know, because the lemon is sour. Now some people like sour lemons. You know, that's a life choice, but but
Right.
the point is that guess what? If I make lemonade, it's not gonna be as sour. It's, you know, it's gonna give me opportunity to drink the lemon, use the lemon in a different type of way where it has a little sweetness to it.
Yeah.
I might throw some strawberries in it, you know, whatever. And like I say, that's my thing. That's how I see it. It's who you are when the dust settles. That's gonna that's gonna be lasting, a lasting characteristic of who you are.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's good, bro. And both of y'all hit it on some major points. But the biggest thing that I think to just walk away with when we think about character is, again, it's all about the response, right?
Mm.
Because again, even to your point, Shante, about lemon into lemonade, again, that's a response versus a reaction. A reaction would be what? It's sour, so I'm gonna turn my face up, right?
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
reaction. Whereas
Yep.
my response is, oh, okay, hold on, I got lemons. So let's make lemonade, right? Being able to see the situation with that, and that's all through the fact that, again, the failures, the challenges, the things that we've overcome. Those are all things that help us to develop that character or that characteristic, right? That allow us to understand the response versus the reaction component.
That's good.
Mm.
So,
Good. You know,
Yeah,
and one
that's
of the
good.
things about our personality styles is most people look at us and figure we always got it together because we're difficult to read. We don't really show our emotions in a way that most people can interpret them. And they're like, man, you seem to you seem to always have an answer. Well, that's not, that's not true. You know, we don't always have it together.
yeah.
And one of someone that has taught personality styles, they described us like a duck on a pond, where we floating around the pond. The surface is calm, and they look like the duck is just floating and chilling, but underneath they just pattern. You know what I'm saying?
Wait, I need to go this way. Well, no, I gotta go this way. No, I want to go that way. Let's go this way.
But to everybody else, it was
Absolutely.
like,
Yeah,
just,
he just moving on around. Yeah,
Mm. Yeah.
no. Yeah.
yeah.
So
So
what's the
it's important.
what's the compromise, right? So what's the compromise
Mm.
when we think about character?
I think that's a good and bad thing.
Yeah.
I think it like not
Yeah.
not in and of itself good and bad, but it can be good or bad, right? When you talk about having
Mhm.
character and compromise, you can look at it and say, okay, so you have these set of things that you say are important, and you're not living or talking or acting accordingly. And so in
Mm.
that way, that would be a negative compromise, right? Where you might have said it, you might have felt strong about it yesterday, but today all of a sudden you done switched up and now you're doing something different. What's up? Who are you? Like, how am I going to
Mhm.
follow you? Um, and I've been there. But then also at the same time, I think compromise is like uh, when you are aligning your priorities and you're just having to let something go that it may have been important. It may have been important yesterday, but it was never going to be more important than my faith or my family.
Mm.
Mm.
And both of those can reinforce your character, right?
Yeah.
Practicing what you're preaching, and then setting the boundary for yourself when you need to. So that could entail like letting the person go that's no longer for you. It don't matter what they were to you before, but like you might have to give it up, let them go on about their business.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Because even as I think about it, and that's good, bro. Like, because even as I think about it, like in most cases, when I think about compromise versus my character, because again, number one, character is what, and I think you hit on it just now, is that again, it's all connected to my values and my beliefs, right?
Yeah.
My character is developed directly from those components, right? Those are foundational, right? When
Yep.
it comes to my characteristics, it's built off of that. If it doesn't connect with my values and my principles, then it can't become a characteristic of my behavior and my habits. So when I compromise, that means I'm going against something that I potentially that could potentially jeopardize or take me outside of my values and beliefs and principles, which is also going to then compromise my character because now my behavior is going to change,
Right.
Yeah.
right? And I know we all can relate to that, right? I could
Hmm.
if we be 100% transparent, I guarantee you it's 7 o'clock now. Yeah, depending on what time you got up, I'm pretty sure you had some challenges today. I'm pretty sure there was some compromising with your character today. Your values, they're
Mm.
always being challenged.
Yeah.
Always being challenged. They're always on front street. They're always in the forefront. They're always being looked at, right? And we're constantly looking at ourselves. And even like you said, Ian, that you know, when I look at what I'm trying to do, I have to make sure that I understand how that lines up with my priorities.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, how does it line up with my priorities? And if I have my priorities in order, are my priorities based on the values, my principles, and the things that I'm trying to accomplish or trying to move towards uh, at that particular moment? So there's so many different moving parts when we think about character and compromise. I really wanted to just make sure that even for myself, as I sit here and I look, because when I looked at the title, I'm like, "Whoo, that hit home." Like, you know what I'm saying? It hit home. Character and compromise. Yeah, I know I compromised on some of my characters. I'll be honest. I'll be the first one to say, yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you want to be all the way real? Intentionally and unintentionally,
Yeah.
right? Intentionally and unintentionally.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it in my best moments, uh, but I learned my lesson, right? Because
I mean, and that's
there's
something
always a lesson to
to
be
just
learned.
admit that we're just not always at our best. You know,
Yeah.
we go through seasons, and the thing about it is, a season is not just a moment. That could be a day, it could be a week, it could be a year, it could be a couple years. So just imagine
Huge
like a
thing.
couple years of compromise, one compromise leading to another compromise, and to
Mhm.
another compromise, and now you got this thing. And Shantae mentioned like people are going to look at that and be like, "Ah, man, it don't matter what you did the last 10 years. You was good. You seem like you was a good guy. It's a shame, but yeah,
Hmm.
Ooh, and that's a good point to the fact that again, once you start that compromise, right, we have to understand the impacts and effects and the chain
yeah,
reaction that causes, right? And you just hit it perfectly. That again, what was supposed to be a season of maybe a day, 2, 3, or 4 months, then became years because again, we didn't recognize the compromise that we were doing and the danger or the effects it was having on our character. Then it became a habit, right?
yeah,
Because now our behavior has been completely changed based on this compromise that we took in place that didn't match with our values and our principles.
yep,
Exactly. I think, and that's the root. I think the root is what are your values?
Hmm.
And a lot of people, if people are honest, a majority of people don't know what their values are.
yeah,
And that's why, and I think that's why they fall in the latter category of compromise, because I think there is a distinct, okay, when we talk about character and compromise, the initial thing is you compromising who you are, right?
yeah,
And then but the secondary one is that you may do something that I would say it seems that you're compromising your character, but not necessarily you are. And how I explain that is, if we look at the Bible from Genesis to Revelations, there's things that God said do not do. But God, and people tend to think that God is fair. I don't think God's fair. I think God is just. And being fair is that even though I got a 5-year-old, I got a 10-year-old, and I got a 20-year-old, being fair is giving them all the same thing. That's being fair. But being just is looking at them and say, well, you're 20, you get this, you're 10, you get this, you're 5, you get this. You know, and so all through the Bible, God did things that we would think he said don't do, but because he's a righteous God, he did those things to the people that needed to be done to at that time. Same thing for us. Sometimes people see us doing some things and they'll say, well, you're compromising. Just like some people have been called, you know, your ministry is going, I used to be in the hood and I used to do this and do that. I go back to that. Not that I'm doing those things, but I go back to help and change. A lot of people see that will see you doing that, and their first idea is you're going back to it. Yeah. That's not true. You're not necessarily going back to it. Now you can get caught up. I've seen plenty of people do that, try to go back, be in that same environment, and then get pulled back in. But I said that to say that it's important that a person understands their values, because if you don't understand your values, no one else can. Because you'll easily be like, they'll see like, I thought you was supposed to be such, like everybody. Everybody knows what a Christian should and shouldn't do when a Christian do something wrong. Just tell me if I'm lying. Right? They ain't a Christian, but they know you ain't supposed to be doing this.
Oh, for sure.
You see what I'm saying? That's just a fact of life. That's how people. That's how people are.
Yeah.
So I say I'm a Christian, and this pastor, he gave an example in a book where a young lady came, gave her life to the Lord, or what have you, and she was a stripper. You know, so she was getting paid, you know, then she came out of it, but the lifestyle, you know, man, start bills and stuff start happening, and she started slowly drifting back into it. And he went into the place and got her. Now, a person that was just didn't know what was going on and seeing the pastor walk in there, they could be like, oh, look at this pastor going to this strip joint. Right? But guess what? That ain't the full story. So now this person is seeing that he's compromised his character. He's compromising, but he's not. And and some people, even if you explain to them what happened, they don't care. Right. They're gonna say, no, you're supposed to be a Christian.
They just there for the scandal. For the, you know, exactly. What we say today, they just there for the tea. People love the tea. Boy.
Yeah. So, but when you know your values, my point is though, when you know your values, it's not easy to get sucked into these little bitty pockets or corners, because you know the values, you know who you are, and you know what you will and won't do. That's what makes it easier. But most people don't know any of that, and that's part of the problem with people being stand up or having this certain type of character.
Wow. Yeah. Come through, Shante, bro.
Yeah.
Hold on. That's right, bro. We're gonna wrap up here in the last couple minutes. So we're gonna do a round of final thoughts, okay?
Okay.
But what I really love about what you said, Shante, you said several things, but one of the things that really stuck out to me is how you compromise yourself. And of course you emphasize the importance of knowing your values, which I think is the perfect note to end on. Just the importance of knowing your values. But then compromising yourself, I wanted to just tell you, those of you that are listening, that is the equal to basically betraying yourself.
Yes.
And you really realize it, you are betraying yourself when you compromise the things that you said are most important. You are betraying yourself. And guess what that leads to? Ultimately, you have trust issues. Your trust issues start with yourself first. If you are consistently compromising your values, the things that you say are most important, you ain't gonna have a lot of trust for yourself. And I'm saying that as a person who has experienced it. And I, as a person who's grown up in the faith, I grew up in church. it's interesting. I was actually just considering like what that life was like. I didn't have the luxury of making all my mistakes and messing up before I came to the Lord. I was pretty much, as for me and my house, I was gonna serve the Lord. I was gonna look and I was gonna sound like before I ever confessed. And so I never had the. I don't want to say it's a luxury. I don't want to belittle the anybody else's walk, but it's like I never had that opportunity. So all the mistakes and the mess ups that I've had have been under the Christian banner, under the supposedly faithful banner. And it's like I'm a human with a heart who had to choose Jesus for myself. But the world doesn't see that way. They look at me and like, oh, you supposed to be. And then I also know I'm supposed to be. So being up the perfectionist I am, I'm eating myself alive because I'm not living up to what I know. I know intellectually is right, but I hadn't gotten my heart. And so, yeah, it's just like I just want to reinforce what Brother Shante said. Like knowing your values. It's one thing to know that these things intellectually are important. It's like, oh yeah, my belief in Jesus is important. Oh yeah, my family is important. But to really confess, these are the most important things to me. Meaning, I will live, fight, die for these things. These are the hills that I'm willing to die on. That is what empowers you to live your life accordingly.
Yes, sir.
All right, brothers. Final thoughts.
When I think of, just real quick, so when I think of the title, Healthy Character and Compromise, and like Ian said, the foundation of that is your values. If you don't know anything else in life, you need to know what your values are. And you get to that by asking yourself the hard questions. As simple as that. Because your values ain't about mama, daddy, your best friend, your significant other. Your values are about you, because that dictates how you respond to the world. So I would just encourage you to know them. If you don't have any, if you don't know how to figure it out, any of us, we can help walk you through that. And then we ain't trying to sell you nothing. We just want you to be better than you, better tomorrow than you are today.
Yeah, that's dope.
Leadership Locksmith, close us out.
Hey, yes, sir. So just to stay on that same thread, that same train of thought, and I think both of y'all brothers hit it great. And let's be honest, right? Values is something that's talked about, but again, it's one of those things I think that sometimes just very hard to really internalize from the perspective of, okay, what is my true value? What are my values? What are my beliefs? What are those different things? One of the things that I think that is very important that we have to understand is that even we talked about earlier, we talked about, and I think Ian brought up the fact that what is that circle of friends? Who are those people that we're connected to? Sometimes in identifying that, what we do is we turn around and we conform, right? We conform instead of using our values as making sure, okay, do my values and beliefs line up with with this group of people, right? Instead of trying to identify those for ourselves, we just conform. We just fall in line because we don't know what that looks like. We don't know where it's at. So we just, well, hey, they're doing it. So hey, I think that it matches with me. I'll go ahead along that same line. But like Brother Sante said, hey, when I understand and when you identify what those look like for you, then you can then turn around and be like, okay, hey, this is where I'm at. This is what it is. I don't have to conform. I don't have to be like everyone else. I can just be me.
That's good.
Right? And I can be okay with me. And that's okay if it doesn't match up with everybody else. It will match up with someone. And whenever that happens, guess what? Our characteristics will line up. They'll match. We'll find. I'll attract that person.
Yeah.
Right? Based on the values and beliefs that I have for myself. So we don't have to conform. But ye transformed by the renewing of our mind. right?
Mm.
Daily. And that's where that's where you find the value that you're looking for by the transformation of our mind, right? Being around the right people. So,
Yes,
value.
sir. I need that organ. I'm gonna get that organ sound. Listen, you've been rocking with the Brothers in Influence podcast for the last hour. We've been talking about character and compromise. Thank you for tuning in live with us. We stand to encourage, inspire, and add value to Black men in the areas of life, leadership, and community. But we also welcome any and everyone who wants to join in on the conversation. We believe everyone has something to add. So feel free to tune in with us next Monday at 6:15. We will be back for the month of July. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. See you next week.
And we out.